Howdy. Today, guys, we're back on the Cropmaster. Um, Took it out with the two bottom plows on it to try it out plowing, give it a little bit of work, figure out what was wrong with it. And found out my alternator's still not charging, so something's wrong in there. And it was running good, and then all of a sudden it started sputtering and dying like it was running out of fuel. Thought, that's weird. I put 5 gallons in it, and I only drove it a half mile to the field. And it's acting like it's running out of gas. And I looked in the gas tank, and I found gas that was that color. Why was my gas that color, you might ask? Well, you guys remember all the rust, big chunks that were in this tank when I first got the tractor. And then I put a log chain in it, in each section, because there's a gas and a kerosene one. And put a log chain in each little piece of it, and some degreaser and some hot water, and drove around in the field for an hour. And banged that around and thought I got all the rust cleaned out of it. I hosed it out over and over and over, and putting the gas back in it. So in the U.S., if you guys aren't aware, overseas, gas in the U.S. has ethanol in it. Most gasoline has some ethanol in it, which is like corn alcohol pretty much. And it's really good at breaking loose deposits, whether that be rust, whether that be paint, whether that be gas varnish that's in your carburetor. It's really good at breaking that loose. So what the regular pump gas has done, because I was not paying the premium for ethanol-free gas, is it has, you can see a little bit of gas I couldn't get out of the tank. It's broken loose all the little bits of dust and stuff that were in there. And you can actually see there's a bunch of pinholes in there. That's why the tank was leaking from side to side, because I put gas in one, and after a day or two it would leak into the other tank. You can also see in the bottom there's a pinhole between the layers. Now this tank has a couple of layers on the bottom and on the sides, actually, because there's no light coming in there from the outside, because I already checked that. There's my little standpipes in the bottom, and they couldn't even keep up with the amount of dirt that was in there. So what I'm going to do is I have some of this clean strip concrete and metal prep. And it should say on the back, warning, contains phosphoric acid. Somewhere. I know it does. It says directions for use. Rusted surfaces to remove rust. You get it. There's the instructions. It says on there somewhere, contains phosphoric acid. I know it does. But anyway, don't let it get into contact with aluminum, because it will melt aluminum chemically, which is bad. And those fuel caps, luckily, are brass, not aluminum. But I will still try to not hose them down with it too much. I'm going to pour some of that in there, let it sit. I'm going to shake it up and then let it sit at different angles throughout the next couple days. I'm going to get that out of there, clean it with acetone, and then I have some Pour 15 fuel tank sealer. A lot of auto parts stores have this. Strangely, most of the ones around me didn't. But one of the O'Reilly stores had it, and then they shipped it to me. Or shipped it to my local store, and I was able to go in and pick it up. A quart's supposed to be good for about 12 gallons. This is like a 10-gallon tank, I think. I could be wrong. I could be way off on that. And there's like a 2-gallon second tank on it, but there's an extra wall in there. But I'm pretty sure whatever size this is going to be enough, because I watched another guy who did this, and he had a 12-gallon tank and still had some left after doing a 12-gallon tank. So we should be good here on that. And basically what that is, you get the tank all cleaned out with acetone or paint thinner or whatever you're going to do after running the phosphoric acid stuff through it. And what that does is, once you get that in there, the phosphoric acid eats the rust, breaks it down, and it'll come back to almost shiny, but it'll be, it won't be anything that's going to break loose on the inside of the tank. Get that out, acetone gets rid of all the other solvents and stuff and cleans it out. You can get that dumped out easy, and it evaporates fast, and it'll get out of the tank easy. And then when that's dry, you can put that fuel tank sealer stuff in, And it's a real thick liquid, and you kind of roll it around in the tank, and then you let it sit. And it becomes like a hard plastic almost, or slightly flexible plastic on the inside of your tank. And it says it's okay for fuel that has ethanol in it, or alcohol fuel, or anything like that. It says it's safe for that. So whatever kind of plastic it is, the ethanol doesn't hurt it. And that way there's a barrier, so even if the tank does continue to rust, it's not going to get into the fuel. It'll just sit between the plastic layer and the regular steel. But because we use the rust remover phosphoric acid, it's not going to do that for a long time, is the theory. And the other cool thing about that plastic tank liner stuff, it will fill in pinholes and stuff, so I may be able to use both tanks separately again, which would be cool. That way I could only use the small one and not have to fill it near as full. My alternator has something else wrong with it, so I have another one that I got as a reman. Put on my LA. The LA didn't turn fast enough to actually make it work as a one wire, so I'm going to put it on here. Something's up with this one because it didn't work one wire or three wire. And I thought I put one wire parts in it, but anyway. Changed the oil on this guy. Took the oil filter off of that because the oil filter is really hard to get for these, and the rubber thing on top is impossible to get for these. So the spin-on adapter thing went right on. Just barely touched my choke cable. That shouldn't be an issue. I did a transmission oil flush on it with some 20 weight transmission oil, and then found out you're supposed to run gear oil in these. But that was a good flush. And check out my gear oil bucket over here. Now this is some stuff we picked up at an auction last fall off a guy that we knew who had passed away. We picked this up at his auction. Case IH, but that's the old tread logo. Old gear oil. And it's still got the guy's address it was sent to on there, and that on it, which is pretty cool. So that's late 80s stuff there, which is really cool. And I found that in the shed. And cool thing is, now that looks really bad there. It's still sealed. So we're going to put some Case IH gear oil in this David Brown and hopefully make it not leak or something. Maybe it's the oil. I don't know. See if I can open this. They put these things on tight back in the day. Oh, it smells like gear oil, all right. Looks good. Let's dump it in. Boy, am I glad I decided to change the engine oil, because there's some not happy things going on up here. Not so much that as that. There is sludge all over this. I felt the rods. The rods feel good. The bore, it's not perfect. There's a little bit of crosshatch left, but most of it's up and down or just glazed. There's some rusty stuff. You can see up at the top there. There is some rust. The cam lobes could be better. That one there that you can see in the middle has a little mark on it. But the most important part is the pan was full of junk. I mean, that stuff is thick. Like, it's standing up by itself in that pan, and it filled that pan with like water and gas, and then really thin oil, and then it got thicker and thicker and thicker to the point where I took the little access cover off there, and I could see stuff hanging out of the pan that was just kind of stuck coming out. But that stuff is thick. Oh, there's rust and stuff in there. That stuff is standing up by itself. So, yeah, that's always something that can happen on these old units. Very glad I dropped that pan. And I'm very glad I decided to change the oil. Yeah. So the tractor did make it to plow day. It didn't have its original fuel tank. This is the fuel tank out of that 950. It's diesel, only has one pickup in it, not two, but it looked to be cleaner than the one I had. Didn't have time to do the treatment on it before plow day. Things just didn't work out. Also, this petcock on the bottom of the radiator was opened when I started plowing, and it had dirt in it, so I didn't ever realize which way was open, which way was closed. Because that in the U.S. is open, but in England and Japan that is closed. Same thing with that one. So it was spraying coolant everywhere. Once I got the tractor up to temperature plowing, and it was doing quite well until A, it blew that out and was blowing antifreeze everywhere, and B, we had a torrential downpour like 15 minutes after we started. Like, not all the tractors even got lined up yet. Torrential downpour. So we all went inside, talked with the guys, talked about our tractors for a while, you know, like guys do. And got that fixed. Talked to the one old timer who had the place we were working at. I asked him if I could borrow his garden hose. He's like, "Oh yeah, sure. You know, this is a pretty neat tractor." Told him the story on it, where I got it, and where it came from. He's like, "Yeah, I thought that was a little British tractor. Yeah, that's kind of cool." And meanwhile, he was farming. He was plowing with an old Fordson that had been in his family, I think, since new. Or they had one when it would have been new. Anyways, it actually plowed quite well with the 216s. Other than I kept getting dirty fuel, because this fuel tank was not much cleaner than the other one, because the ethanol in the gas I put in it broke loose all of the bits of dirt inside that tank and proceeded to plug up this line coming out of the tank. So, in the many months that have passed, I've been working on the Cub Cadet some. Just this week actually, got the fuel tank cleaner. Oh boy, it's on that chain and it's solidified good. I got the fuel tank treatment in this fuel tank, and it is looking chunky, but it's all sealed off in there. It's looking pretty good. There's one little pinhole there still. That's an expansion neck there, is why that hole's there. But I got that looking pretty good down in there. So we're going to put that back on here and try to do some farming with it later in the season. As always, guys, stay tuned. We've got lots more videos coming soon, and tractor pulling season is coming up. There's that beauty just hanging out inside. And many videos coming up. As I've been busy, I just haven't had time to finish editing yet. And I still have a couple little bits of footage and parts to compile to finish several projects. So stay tuned if you like what you're seeing. And like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.